Captain America, the first Avenger was released in 2011, making it 14 years old in 2025, and the MCU cast has been pretty busy during that time. Captain America, the first Avenger depicts the origins of the titular Captain America decades before Steve Rogers would bequeath the mantle to his modern-day compatriot, Sam Wilson. Taking place during World War II in the 1940s, it stands to reason that many of the characters featured in Captain America, the first Avenger, could not live to see the modern-day MCU like Cap himself, though this was surprisingly not the case for a handful. Despite debuting the MCU's third lowest grossing movie, Chris Evans' Captain America became a household name in no time, thanks in no small part to his subsequent appearances in some of the MCU's best-rated movies. Cap would ostensibly retire from the MCU following Avengers: Endgame in 2019, leaving behind an unassailable legacy. With his Captain America, the first Avenger co-stars proving to be important factors in this legacy, this is what each of them has been up to since the movie's 2011 release. Chris Evans became an MCU figurehead. Chris Evans portrayed Steve Rogers' Captain America. Chris Evans debuted as Steve Rogers in Captain America, the first Avenger, making an exceptional first impression as the impossibly virtuous recipient of the Super Soldier Serum. By the time he made his MCU debut, Chris Evans was already something of a comic book movie veteran, having starred as Johnny Storm in Fantastic Four and Lucas Lee in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, to name a couple. Like Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark, Chris Evans would return to the MCU as recently as 2024, though this was to reprise his role as Johnny Storm from Fox's Fantastic Four franchise. Evans' most prominent roles outside the MCU include Jack O'Malley in 2024's Red One, Buzz Lightyear in 2022's Lightyear, and Ransom in 2019's Knives Out, which was released just 7 months after Avengers Endgame. Evans has been reported to be returning to the MCU in Avengers: Doomsday in 2026, though Evans has since refuted these reports. Sebastian Stan would continue to portray Steve's best friend. Sebastian Stan portrayed Bucky Barnes. Before debuting as Steve Rogers' best friend, Bucky Barnes in the MCU, Sebastian Stan was best known for portraying Carter Baisan in TV's Gossip Girl. His role as Bucky Barnes, a core member of the Howling Commandos who apparently dies while carrying out a mission aboard a speeding train, then helped the actor gain recognition. Despite Bucky's apparent death, the frequency of Bucky Barnes' subsequent MCU appearances is second only to Steve Rogers, as Bucky survived the ordeal and was brainwashed to become the Winter Soldier before becoming a bona fide hero in the MCU. Sebastian Stan's career has flourished significantly since starring in Captain America, the first Avenger. He recently bagged a Golden Globes award for his role as Edward in 2024's A Different Man and a Best Actor Oscars nomination for his role as Donald Trump in 2024's The Apprentice. His rise has not precluded him from the MCU, however, as he is due to star in 2025's Thunderbolts * as the now Senator Bucky Barnes and the titular team's leader. Whether Barnes survives the movie remains to be seen, but it's safe to say he now brings more prestige to the MCU's roster. Hugo Weaving only appeared once in the MCU. Hugo Weaving portrayed Johann Schmidt Red Skull. Hugo Weaving was one of the bigger names in Captain America, the first Avenger, where he starred opposite Chris Evans' Steve Rogers as the movie's archvillain, Red Skull. Before embodying the role of Cap's foremost rival from Marvel Comics, Weaving was most famous for portraying Agent Smith in the Matrix trilogy and Elrond in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Red Skull technically survived the events of Captain America, the first Avenger, although he was portrayed by Ross Marquand when he reappeared on Vormir in Avengers: Infinity War and Avengers: Endgame. Despite not revisiting the MCU, Hugo Weaving reprised his role as Elrond in 2012's The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey, and 2014's The Hobbit: The Battle of the Five Armies. He would continue collaborating with Peter Jackson in 2018, where he starred in Mortal Engines as Thaddeus Valentine, though this movie would fall significantly short of the acclaim earned by Jackson's Tolkien adaptations. Most recently, Weaving has starred as Frank Harkis in the far more widely acclaimed Slow Horses TV series and Australian drama movie, How to Make Gravy, as Noel. Hayley Atwell reprised her role despite being left behind in the 1940s. Hayley Atwell portrayed Peggy Carter. Hayley Atwell portrays Peggy Carter, a foremost agent of the Strategic Scientific Reserve and the primary love interest of Steve Rogers. Before starring in the MCU, Hayley Atwell already had a Golden Globe nomination to her name for her starring role as Aliena in the TV series, The Pillars of the Earth, and was a mainstay of London's West End, earning several Laurence Olivier Award nominations for the latter. Despite being one of many characters left behind in the 1940s after Steve Rogers' heroic sacrifice, Hayley Atwell would reprise her MCU role several times. Hayley Atwell's MCU appearances have been interspersed with multiple high-profile Hollywood roles. These include portraying Martha in Season 2, Episode 1 of 2013's Black Mirror, Evelyn Robin in 2018's Christopher Robin, and Grace in 2023's Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. Atwell is still closely tied to the MCU, however, voicing Captain Carter in What If? Season 3 while reportedly returning to the role in live action in Avengers: Doomsday. Stanley Tucci had a short but pivotal role. Stanley Tucci portrayed Dr. Abraham Erskine. Stanley Tucci plays the pivotal role of super soldier serum creator, Dr. Abraham Erskine, who is killed at the behest of Hydra. Tucci would only reprise his role, therefore, in What If? Seasons 1 and 2 and is unlikely to do so again outside of multiversal shenanigans. After Captain America, the First Avenger, Tucci would star as Mitchell Garabedian in 2015's Oscar-winning Spotlight and multiple Hollywood blockbusters including the Hunger Games movies, 2014's Transformers: Age of Extinction, and 2017's Beauty and the Beast. Tucci recently starred as Bellini in 2024's Conclave. Tommy Lee Jones was left behind in the 1940s. Tommy Lee Jones portrayed Colonel Chester Phillips. Tommy Lee Jones was one of the most famous actors cast in the early MCU when he portrayed Colonel Chester Phillips, though he wouldn't reprise this role in future MCU installments. He would, however, reprise his iconic role as K in Men in Black 3 just 1 year after Captain America: The First Avenger's release. Jones would appear in fewer movies than his co-stars, although he made a habit of starring in big hits like 2019's Ad Astra, 2016's Jason Bourne, and 2012's Lincoln. The lattermost of these earned Jones an Oscars nod for his supporting role as Thaddeus Stevens. Toby Jones returned to the MCU in machine form. Toby Jones portrayed Arnim Zola. Toby Jones portrays Hydra's leading scientist, Arnim Zola, who is captured during the same mission in which Bucky seemingly died. Jones lends his voice to Zola again in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, where he is revealed to have had his consciousness transferred to a computer system before the attempt to kill. His most recent blockbuster role was as Basil Shaw in 2023's Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.